Welcome folks. Now you might have noticed that we have not had a superbike on the show for some time. So today we are correcting that. And here it is. No, it isn't behind the scooter. It is the scooter. A scooter that costs 162,000 Rand. This is the Italjet Dragster, the new, bigger, more powerful 300cc version. And Italjet pen it as an urban superbike. Sounds a bit like marketing mumbo, but let's delve into this claim. And to do so, we've come to the city of Pretoria, where they happen to have a nature reserve right in the middle of it.
So what we essentially have here is the best of both worlds. We're technically still in Pretoria, and on a lovely superbike style road. Yeah, why not? And if you look over there, there are some zebras. Hello zebras! Disco donkeys.
And now that we have a location, let's see if the Dragster has the grit to live up to the name. Italjet is a 65-year-old Italian company located in the city of Bologna, the same area where Ferrari, Lamborghini and of course Ducati call home. So it has the heritage. Now onto the metrics. Carrying the meager 128 kilograms is a 278cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder motor that pushes a commendable 23.8 horsepower and more so 26 Nm of torque. That's 50% more torque than the old 200 Dragster, which makes sense.
Yeah, except it's got that Metallize exhaust pipe that adds another 4 horsepower. And this thing is not slow. Oh-ho! It's not slow and it's not quiet. The sound of it adds at least 200 kilometers per hour to the top end. Definitely. On a kind of flat stretch, long stretch, you get up to 162. On the freeway, you'll, on a sort of ordinary freeway, you'll do about 130, 140-ish. As I say, if you push it a bit more, 160. So not bad, not bad. Oh, that sound.
And there are no gears, and no clutch to faff around with. Instead, it has a CVT gearbox, the sort that's common on scooters. It uses a strange system of plates, weights, pulleys, and an actual clutch to keep the revs mostly at the same sort of place, while simultaneously increasing the speed. It's exceedingly complicated, but this is a system that has worked well on scooters for decades. More so, over and above the Metallize exhaust, this specific Italjet also has a full Metallize CVT system added, and it's rather miraculous.
So what that does is it's weird, like transmission, it's either you're kind of moving kind of things around, either more top end or either more acceleration. Yet with the way the CVT on this thing works, it's all very kind of complicated and there's a lot of different aspects to it. But what it does is it gives it more acceleration and more top end. And don't ask me how, but it just does. And that's good, so more of everything.
So that's the motor and gearbox. We now move on to the chassis and therefore the handling. And here is where everything gets terribly interesting. As is blatantly apparent, the Dragster uses a steel trellis frame combined with aluminium plates. They say that the steel trellis used in the frame is the same thickness and material as used on Italjet's neighbor, Ducati. And that says something. The rear shock is a run-of-the-mill single shock with a preload adjustment. The front though is something truly special. It uses hub steering, so the handlebars are not connected to forks that go straight down to the front wheel, but are instead connected to a steering arm more similar to the system in a car. The front suspension has an arm extending down one side of the front wheel, making it a single hub assembly. And the front arm is then attached to a shock situated between the rider's feet, where it can be adjusted for compression dampening and preload, much like a superbike. The downside of the system is that when the bike is stationary, the bars are difficult to steer, a bit like a car without power steering. But when it gets moving, well,
Here we go, corner. See what I mean? It kind of tips in. It's not the greatest leaning machine, but it works. I mean, you feel confident, and confidence is good. Very often with such small wheels, you don't feel confident. It really handles nicely. I mean, you think these small wheels, generally small wheels make things feel a little bit kind of out of sorts. But not this at all. It's somehow smooth and stable.
The brakes are from Brembo and work well, but this machine makes it different.
The brakes feel odd. I mean, it's front and rear, okay, both the brakes are on the handlebars, but when you pull them, normally you've got the feeling of a fork kind of diving down. And this feels weird. It's like, it doesn't kind of do that, and the sort of diving feels more like a pivot. That new TFT's dash is a nice touch. Just makes it feel a little bit classier. Why not? It's a small little thing. I mean, that looks nice. Why not? I can tell everything I need.
So far all is well, but nothing is ever quite perfect.
One downside though is that this is living up to its superbike reputation. It's not comfortable. No, you really do feel every single bump, every single little everything. You feel everything. But that's okay, you know, they don't advertise this as a comfortable, you know, long distance cruiser. They advertise it as a superbike. I mean, I'm not breaking my back anywhere, but every little bit of the road, I feel.
Also, unlike your traditional scooter, there is no boot under the seat to fit groceries, only a cubbyhole big enough to fit wallets and cell phones. This is less convenient, but also in line with the superbike claim. It also has more superbike credentials, like guards around the levers, just like MotoGP bikes. Also, it has braided brake hoses.
MotoGP wings, because, you know, it doesn't wheelie, and they don't really do anything, but, you know, it's got them anyway.
So, the Italjet Dragster 300's got heritage, a good motor, interesting and worthwhile handling, and it can stop. But we have not yet mentioned the main reason to buy this bike. It's a reason that's staring you in the face.
This is a bike that just makes you feel happy just owning it. It's a runaround. I wouldn't want to travel for long distance on it. I wouldn't want to enter a race on it, not in South Africa anyway. I mean, against superbikes and that, no. It's a runaround. It's an urban runaround. And it's an urban runaround that makes you feel happy. It's a conversation starter. Anywhere you'll park, people are going to come ask you about it, and you get the joy of telling them about it. All the wonderful little aspects, all the bits and pieces that look good, that are interesting, that are fun. You get the joy of sharing that with people. You get the joy of knowing you own it. And it's a lot of fun to ride. You just want to spend the whole day slowing down and then opening the throttle.
Part of the fun of riding motorcycles is, of course, riding motorcycles. But there's far more that comes with it, including meeting some very interesting people.
My name is Tony Pereira and I am the founder of Moovers Speedshop.
Tony and his group of nutter friends are famous for riding Vespas and riding them everywhere, including a trip planned for next year to Summit Sani Pass. But it all started with a little store called Moovers Speedshop.
Moovers Speedshop is a one-stop shop for all Vespas. We do maintenance, modification on all other Vespa models, but we also specialize in custom one-off builds. Started probably about 10 years ago. My dad and I had some custom vans and we would go camping and get really frustrated that we couldn't go up to the shops or anything because the van was set up. And we were looking for something to slide into the back of the van that we could pop up to the shops on. And a Vespa was ideal because it was small and we could pick it up on our own. And bought two, rode them around the block and thought this can't be it. So we set about modifying them and making them a little bit quicker and nice to our likings, and went on a couple of Vespa rides, and very shortly had a queue of Vespas standing outside having the same work done to them.
And as is the way with specialist shops, there's quite a bit to it.
So we've got two sort of partitions to the workshop. We've got the main section behind me over here, which is where all the bikes are kept. It's where we keep majority of our stock, and it's sort of where they stand when they're not being worked on and they look nice and pretty. Then on the other side, to the right of that, is a fully fledged workshop. We do our own machining. We've got a little machine room at the back. We've got enough space to be able to work on about 4 or 5 Vespas at the same time. And then at the back side of the workshop, we've got a dirty workshop, which has got all of our fabrication tools and all that sort of stuff. So we can pretty much do almost everything in-house. The only thing that we don't do in-house is paint, but we've got custom creations down the road, which is where we do all of our paint work.
Beyond that, there is also a boutique selling Moovers merchandise, and they are the importers of Polini, the famous performance product brand. Obviously, he's had a lot of Vespas through his store, but when we pinned him down as to how many exactly,
on average, we do between 4 and 5 bikes a week, and we've been running for 10 years. So many.
His biggest project so far is a bike they are calling Turbo, named after the animated film, and designed to tackle the likes of Italjet Dragster. And it's quite a build.
So the ones that spring to mind, I mean, obviously first thing that springs to mind is Turbo, because it's probably the best thing that I've built to date. Turbo is making, the whole purpose and the premise of the build for Turbo was to build something ridiculously fast that would surprise everyone. And that was the reason why we landed up with the Turbo theme anyways, because it was such a good metaphor. The bike is making 75 horse on the wheel, and it comes in at about 110 kgs. So the power to weight ratio is just over 700 horsepower per ton. And it's geared to do 220. We're expecting 11s on the drag strip, we hope. I might embarrass myself, but that's what we're hoping for. And the way that the preliminary tests and things, that certainly I think it will be there. The specs of the motor, it's a single cylinder 2-stroke 306cc. It redlines at 10,000 RPM. It's got 12-inch wheels, which they normally shouldn't have. It's got a modern GTS Vespa's front suspension and fork setup and everything. We have lengthened the chassis to give it a little bit more weight on the nose. We've also strengthened it down the front because we didn't want to have a crossbar. We wanted to keep that step-through Vespa style and design. We built a custom soft-touch wheelie bar so that if it lands up on the back wheel over 100 odd k's an hour, it at least does it softly and it hits the wheelie bar softly, it doesn't upset you. It's got a completely adjustable wing, so we can dial in and dial down downforce as well as counter sort of weird angles. Because everything is single-sided on this bike, you've got a lot of torque and twist on the chassis, so we're worried that at high speeds it's going to pull to the one side, so that wing can adjust left down and right down as well, so we can try and counter for that. That's the theory anyway.
We are hoping to get a ride on Turbo on the show when it's complete. But Vespas and various scooters come in many forms, and they seem happy to go mental with anything.
One of the other things that we enjoy doing over here is we enjoy doing off-road Vespas. So we've recently done probably 5 or 6. We're busy with another one at the moment. So those have really taken our time recently, but we've done a couple of interesting street bikes. This one is also an interesting one. This is a 58 that we've just done a complete engine overhaul on and everything. This bike quite comfortably now sits at 130 k's an hour. There's a very interesting moped just over there. We'll get some shots of it now. That also does 100 k's an hour for a bicycle pedal moped style Vespa. It has a 72cc 2-stroke motor that revs to 17,000 RPM. And then it's got a CVT drive in it as well, so it gears up as you need it. It's got longer drive ratios in the rear. fancy Continental wet weather tires.
There are many more examples, including a Vespa sidecar, a Pink Floyd Vespa, and a Vespa that was actually owned by Travis Pastrana himself and is featured on some of his videos. It seems that Tony and crew are doing a good job because business isn't exactly slow.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're busy with at the moment. It's all keeping us very busy, including all of our customer builds and projects that have all been booked in. The shop is very busy. We're busy till next year, April or somewhere around there. But by the time you guys see this on TV, it might be a little bit later than that. Best way, if you've got a project in mind or if you want to sort of come and speak to us about a build, you can either come and see us in person, you can get hold of me on my WhatsApp number. There's also emails and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure Don will put it up on screen. And yeah, get a hold of us, let us know what you're after, if you've got a project in mind or if you're looking for a project that you want to build, or if you just want a cool Vespa and you don't know how to go about it. Just give us a shout and we can walk you through it.
And then lastly, what do some of these builds cost?
We've done a good couple of Vespas that have come in at over 200 odd K. The most expensive one that we've built, we never landed up handing the bill over. That would be Turbo. Turbo's engine alone comes in at just over 350. So it's big money. It's the build on that bike is probably well over 750,000 Rand that we spent on it, including paint and all of the fancy little trick bits. But at the end of the day, when you're doing 220 k's an hour in a Vespa, you want to know that things are done right.
And now we turn our attention to a new adventure suit, the new 485 jacket and pants from South African kit company Metalize. And before we get into anything else, let's talk about the obvious. It's brown. This is the suit for the educated man. Brown is an educated color. Go look at all these top sort of university professors and all of that. I mean the real ones, not the sort of dazzling ones. They wear brown suits. Besides that, brown is also the color of the soil, and mud and things like that. So, should you come short on your bike and you end up with a bit of mud on you, well, perhaps your mates won't notice because it kind of blends into the suit. The other brown stuff that comes out when you come short or when something happens, well, yeah, luckily that's also brown. So, yeah, brown suit for the win. With that out of the way, let's get to the nitty-gritty. The 485 suit meets all the safety requirements with protective padding in the bottom, knees, shoulders, elbows, and back, making the rider feel more confident. There is also mesh everywhere to let air in. There's scorch light reflectors all over so the rider can be seen in the dark. The pockets are all either zip up or velcro, and all waterproof so rain won't end your cell phone life. The recommended prices are 2,800 Rand for the jacket and 2,200 Rand for the trousers, which is bang on. All that is good, but here is the suit's real party trick. Now I am more typical South African. And people say to me, yeah, lose weight, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. I am the more typical South African, not just South African. You go to Britain, you go to America, all sorts of places. This is the typical build. And yet we always seem to be buying our motorcycle kit from Europe, where that's not the typical build. So you'll often find that your suits are like designed around Italian men or Spanish men or something with a slim waistline and blah, blah, blah. And their body shape is not the same as majority of South Africans. Even the guys who are not overweight, our body shape is different. And Metalize is a South African company, so that's good news. So it means this actually fits. I mean, this jacket, for example, jacket and pants, they zip up fine, bolt up fine, everything like that fine. They're really, they're comfortable. Now, usually when I find a suit that I can zip up or bolt up, button up fine on the pants, usually that means it's designed for a person that's about 15 feet tall. It's like people who design clothing have some sort of chart with a waist to height ratio, and someone with my waistline is about 15 feet tall. So, my hands end up somewhere where my elbows should be, because the sleeve's too long, and then my neckline over here is somewhere around my ears, because the whole thing is just too long. Also, my legs it's all bunched up, the knee guard is somewhere down by my shin. It's all a catastrophe, it all doesn't work. But again, this is built for a South African body. So it's all fine. I mean, its sleeves are slightly long, but they're really not bad. The rest of it's not bad. The rest of it fits fine, and I'm comfortable. I'm really comfortable. I can sit in this all day. Well, that's kind of the idea. To be in it all day, and I can be in it all day.
And it's even better off-road.
Now, I'm sure many of you have ridden off-road before, especially if you're interested in an adventure suit. And you might know that off-roading is hard work, which is why I'm rather grateful for all the venting going on here. Because, yeah, perspiration's a problem, especially for people like me. Yeah. The suit that fits helps on off-road also, because when it doesn't fit, you kind of, in off-road, you need to move around a lot more. You know, you're standing up, you're kind of moving around on the bike, you may be wrestling the bike a little bit, you know. Stuff's happening when you're riding off-road, and it really helps that your suit fits properly. Because when it doesn't fit properly, it becomes all restrictive, and then that makes off-road riding more difficult. It's comforting that I can feel all the padding and all the protection. Like when I move my shoulder blades, I can feel the back protector. I move my arms, I can feel the elbow pads, I can feel the knee pad, I can feel all these pads everywhere. That does mean that, you know, I feel more confident when I ride off-road because, well, I kind of have the belief that I'd be far more protected should something go wrong. So, yeah, that's good news.
This Metalize 485 suit is still new, and I will be using it over the next few months and reporting back. Until then, it is available from dealers all over the country.